What is up, guys? It is time for yet another tier list video. I'm your host, PC Keen, and I just recently played the original version of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the very first time. I played the remake way back in the day, but I played the original version recently, so I think I can now do a definitive tier list on every single dungeon and mini-dungeon in Ocarina of Time. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And first up, we have the Great Deku Tree. This is the first dungeon you go to in the game. Pretty much the Deku Tree is dying, he's sick, and there's like a thing inside of you have to beat. And this one's a fun one. I think it's not, it's far from the best dungeon, but I think as a starter dungeon, like setting the expectations of what you're going to be going through in this game, it's a pretty good one. I do also just love us being inside of a tree, because there have been other dungeons and I think other games where you're in a giant tree or something similar, but this tree is like a living being, like it's an actual living tree. The boss is kind of easy, like Gohma's kind of a pushover. The puzzles are obviously very, very simplistic, but I love the atmosphere of the Deku Tree, because again, it's not just a tree, it's a living tree. It's a tree that's actually, it has sentience, it's alive. But yeah, it is a bit simplistic. However, I would rank it higher than most in my opinion. So Deku Tree is my number 6. It's like middle of the road here for me. I think it is a solid, middle of the road starter dungeon for Ocarina of Time. The puzzles again are really easy. The boss fight's also kind of a joke. But I think the whole atmosphere and the environment of the tree, the Deku Tree really does sell it for me. So I think people would probably put it lower than I'd have it here, but that's just my opinion. I like the Deku Tree. And the ones I have lower are like, there for a reason. Not because I hate them necessarily, but, there is one I kind of hate, which we'll get to here in a bit. But Deku Tree, easy number 6, middle of the road, good starter dungeon, and there you go. Alright, going on to Dodongo's Cavern, the second dungeon, where you get the Goron Ruby. This one I will say I'd rank like slightly below Dodongo, or not Dodongo's Cavern, Deku Tree. This is my number 7. I feel like these two can be kind of interchanged because they are, two of the more easier going dungeons in the game. Again, I prefer the environment of Deku Tree more than Dodongo's Cavern. I feel like Dodongo's Cavern it doesn't really stand out that much compared to like other cave areas and other Zelda games. The boss fight is kind of fun though. I do like King Dodongo. It is kind of simplistic like Gohma was. I actually think Dodongo might be just as easy as Gohma. I think Gohma can definitely be spammed more than King Dodongo can for obvious reasons. But yeah, the puzzles here are also pretty good. I love them. Is this one where you fight the Lizalfos in that one room as like the mid-boss or something? Or no, I don't remember, but whatever. But yeah, not that much better than Deku Tree. I put it at number 7, but another kind of middle of the road there for me, but I still enjoyed it enough. I do love, too, the ending where you can bomb the Dodongo statue's eyes to open the boss door. That is kind of cool. Also, I'm not really a fan of the kind of fake out they do where it's like you bomb the statue and you're thinking, oh, the boss door is right there, and then it's actually not. There's like another puzzle you have to do. But yeah, just a little minor complaint there, but it's not really a big deal. So, Dodongo's Cavern, number 7 for me. So, there we go. Alright, Jabu-Jabu's Belly. Similar to the Deku Tree, this one's a bit high for me because I just love the whole concept of being inside a living being. And this one for me is really cool. We're literally inside of a fish. You like see its guts all around. You fight these little tentacle monsters. I'm not a fan of having to guide Princess Ruto though. I've never been a fan of that because if you fuck up even slightly, she gets set back a ways. And you gotta go, like, all the way back to where she spawns at, and then carry all the way back to where you were. So, that is kind of annoying. It wasn't really, like a huge issue for me, but it is, a noticeable one. The boss fight in this one is pretty cool. I love Baronade, where you have to use a boomerang to kill the little jellyfish things and then whack itself. Also, when it dies, it is disgusting, man. It, explodes into guts, literally, and it is pretty nasty. So yeah, I would put Jabu-Jabu at number 5 for me. I think it's just above Deku Tree because, again, I love these because they're, you know, living beings being used as dungeons. I just prefer the environment of Jabu-Jabu a bit more because we're, like, inside of a fish and you see its guts all around. Meanwhile, the Deku Tree, you just see wood and branches and whatnot. You don't see, like, you know, organs or guts or anything. So, again, I feel like 5, 6, and 7 could be interchanged based on preference. But, this is my preference. I prefer Jabu-Jabu, then Deku, then Dodongo's Cavern. But they can all be interchanged based on what you prefer out of these 3 dungeons. But, these are, to me, the 3 middle-of-the-road dungeons, which makes sense because they're, like, the first 3 you go to in the game. So, there you go. Alright, now we're cooking. We got the Forest Temple. I have said before, and I will say it again, this is one of my favorite dungeons in the entire series. Bar none. I love the Forest Temple. I love the music, the atmosphere, just the wistfulness of the dungeon is very eerie and cool. The boss fight is one of the best with Phantom Ganon. Like, I love getting to shoot him out of the paintings, and you got that whole, like, puppet boss fight. It is so cool. But it is not my favorite dungeon in this game. It is number 2, though, for sure. An absolute number 2. I love the puzzles. I love, again, the boss fight. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the whole Poe thing, where you have to beat the Poe sisters, and then I don't know. Like, it's not my favorite way to go about doing a dungeon, but this dungeon is still fantastic. I love the rest of the puzzles. It's just I'm not really too sure about the whole, like, Poe sister, like, having to go around and collect them and then, like, beat the middle one, you know, because it can be kind of easy to get lost in this one, but not to an extensive degree. We'll get to that one dungeon later on, which you guys have probably guessed by now. But, yeah, Forest Temple, one of the best, an absolute classic. Easy, like, S-tier dungeon for me if I was ranking it, like, the other way. But, yeah, I adore Forest Temple. It is one of the best dungeons in the entire Zelda series. Bar none. Bar none. Alright, now we got the Fire Temple, and this one might shock some people, because if you saw my playthrough, I did not have a great time with the Fire Temple. However, I did go back to it and, like, see what you do in that temple, and honestly, even though my experience was maybe a bit lesser than I was hoping for, I still really like this temple. I love the Bulbagia boss fight where you're just whacking it with the hammer. That's always been a cool boss fight. The puzzles are great. I'm not a fan of, like, the whole Goron jail thing, where you're trying to, like, free all the Gorons. Like, you have to go all around and just free them. But, dude, getting that hammer was great. I'm still mad I missed that, like, final puzzle where you have to whack the pillar down in the middle. I missed, like, a door or a platform or something. But, yeah, I did go back and see, like, all the puzzles and just how you go through the dungeon. And, honestly, even though my experience could have been a bit better, I still love it. It's number 4 for me, honestly. Which, again, might shock some people, because if you watch that playthrough, you guys might be able to tell I was not having a fantastic time with the Fire Temple. But again, that's just, like, that experience. I'm pretty sure in other playthroughs of this game I've done, I've had better experiences with the Fire Temple. So I gotta count those as well. So even though not my favorite, it's not, like, top 3 for me, I think I enjoyed the puzzles and the atmosphere enough and the boss fight to put it at number 4. So it's still a really good dungeon. I don't know if it's, like, the best Fire Temple in the entire series. There's, like, better ones out there, I think. But this one is still great. I enjoy it. It's a good time. Alright, now this one, the Ice Cavern. This one's definitely low for me, but not because I hate it, but because it's a mini dungeon and there's not a whole lot going on here. Ice Cavern for me is number 9. I do like the whole, it's not really like a music track, but it's like a, well, it's kind of music, but it's like a, something like that. But yeah, I enjoy ice dungeons, I guess. I mean, a lot of them aren't great from other Zelda games, but, this one was pretty solid. It's pretty straightforward. You're just going around collecting silver rupees a lot. You get the blue, fire here to melt the red ice. You get the water temple song here. That final room, though, is also pretty beautiful. The room where you learn the song from Sheik. I don't know what it is, where it's like the lighting or just the design of the walls, but pretty, cool looking final room. But yeah, not a lot going on here. I mean, the puzzles are fine. The whole ice block pushing puzzle was fine. The room with the spinning blades was fine. And yeah, just nothing really that stands out here. But it's not a bad dungeon. It's just I can't rank it higher than where I have it because it's just not... There's not a whole lot to look forward to with this dungeon. It is a mini dungeon, to be fair, so it makes sense. But it's still a good one. It's got a good atmosphere and vibe to it, so... Not quite my lowest, but it's close. But there are two that I think are lower than this. Speaking of... Oh, man. I know a lot of you probably saw this coming, and you were right. I played the Water Temple in this version for the first time. And the biggest reason I had a better experience with the remake is because of the touchscreen. Because this temple is such a goddamn slog. You have to swap your boots pretty much like every minute. You have to raise the water level as well. Like, it is so easy to get lost in this dungeon. Because... just the way it's designed makes it to where it's like, oh, this way seems good, and it's actually not. And then, it just, oh man. Like, I don't want to say I hate this dungeon, it's not like the worst thing ever, but it has to be my least favorite in the entire game. And I think a lot of people can probably share that sentiment, because it just feels like a slog to go through, man. It is easy number 11. Like... Again, in the remake, it was fine, because the touchscreen lets you swap your boots a whole lot quicker. This one, you gotta pause every, like, 30 seconds, slowly swap to your boots, and then do it again once you're done. It wastes so much time. Like, you guys have no idea. If you play the game, you probably know, but, it's just, you waste a lot of time just by going to the menu. I swear, like, literally half the dungeon, you're just staring at the pause menu trying to swap your boots. It's awful. I don't like it. So, again, there are good puzzles here. I'm not saying the dungeon's, like, a bad overall, but, like, you know, as far as experience, like, how long it takes to get through it, especially for a first-time player, it's not great. The boss fight, though, is pretty good. I do like Morpha. That's a really cool boss fight. But, God, going through this dungeon, if you're a first-time player, like, you're gonna probably hate it. Because it is just, it's not fun. In the remake it might be, but in this version it's not. The original sucks. So, yeah, sorry guys. If you love the Water Temple, I understand. I know there's fans out there that are like, oh, Water Temple isn't that bad. You know, it's actually a pretty amazing dungeon. But for me, I can't agree with that. I think it's just an absolute slog to go through. Like, I don't know. I would not be excited to return to this in a future playthrough. On my own of the original Ocarina of Time, so gotta be my lowest. Sorry, Water Temple fans, I don't like this one. I'm just being honest. But anyway, we go on to Bottom of the Well. So this is the mini dungeon before the Shadow Temple where you get the Lens of Truth, and this one is pretty fun. I would say it's just above Ice Cavern because they're both similar in like how long they take to beat. I do prefer the atmosphere overall of Bottom of the Well. I'm not like a huge fan of creepy environments in games, but this one is actually not that creepy. It's actually, you know, kind of fun to go through. That one mid-boss where you get the what's that boss's name? It's the one with the hand sticking out, and then once it grabs you, it pops out. You have to like kill it. It's a pretty creepy boss. Like, it is actually a terrifying design for it. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot puzzle-wise going on here. I did sort of like the underground section. That was fine. Draining the water was fine. I do like the little bubble enemy that like just goes around. It's like the giant one. But yeah, nothing really. You know what? I might change something here. I'm gonna swap these. I'm gonna swap Ice Cavern and Bottom of the Well. I think I prefer Ice Cavern a little bit more. I just think the puzzles overall were a bit more fun to do in the Ice Cavern versus Bottom of the Well. So I'd probably swap those. But again, they can be interchanged based on preference, in my opinion. But yeah, the well was fine. Getting the lens was cool. But again, it's a mini dungeon, so it can't stand out that much. So there you go, number 9. All right, the Shadow Temple. This one is another all-timer for me. It's not quite up to the Forest Temple for me, but this dungeon is also really goddamn cool. Number 3 for me for Shadow Temple. Again, the atmosphere and the vibe here is fantastic. I love the ship section where you're fighting the enemies across the, like the pit below you. I will say Bongo Bongo is kind of a frustrating boss. Especially because you don't have gyro in the original game. I think in the remake, it's a lot better because you can aim your bow a lot better with the gyro controls. In this version, it's not as accurate, and I kind of struggled with it a little bit because of that, because I just miss having my gyro. But yeah, the puzzles are great. I love all the invisible platforms you have to go on. I love the room with the giant sight statues that you have to work your way around. What was the mid-boss for this one? I forgot. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but yeah, but you get the flight boots here too, right? That was cool to get. Honestly, the what do you call them? The little wing boots might be one of my favorite items in the game. I love the wing boots. But yeah, great puzzles. I love the entrance too, where you have to use Din's fire to light all the torches. That was kind of cool. That one section where you, I think you find the wing boots there, right? It's the room with the paintings you have to go through, and you have to use the lens of truth to find which one's the fake one. Also that one puzzle where you got the giant bird statue, and you have to, point it towards which skull is the real one. That was a cool one. So yeah, just great puzzles all around. Pretty okay to good boss fight, but, again, just the atmosphere here is, fantastic. So easy number 3. Alright, we got Spirit Temple and Ganon's Castle. Now, which one do you guys think is number 1? Spirit Temple or Ganon's Castle? Here's a hint. Spirit Temple is a full-blown dungeon. Ganon's Castle is kind of a mini dungeon. So, kind of a giveaway. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this on streams before and maybe videos, I don't know. But Spirit Temple is another all-timer for me. It is my favorite dungeon in the entire game, easily, not even close. I adore, probably the best music in the entire, like, of all the dungeons in the game. I adore this music. It is fantastic. I also love getting to go as a kid and an adult throughout the temple. That was fun. The boss fight's also really damn cool, where you got Kume and Kotake, then you got Twin Rova. You have to use their fire and ice powers against them. The Dark Nuts are kind of, they can be kind of frustrating if you're a first-time player, but if you're a veteran, they're actually kind of fun to fight, just a little bit. They are kind of basic in how you have to beat them, but whatever. The puzzles here are insanely fun. I love all the, like, sun face ones. You have to point the mirror, or point the light with your mirror shield at the suns. Also, that big giant room with the little Medusa-looking statue thing, or whatever it's called, that was kind of cool, getting to Melt's face where the boss door is. But yeah, just some absolutely great dungeons here, great puzzles, really good boss fight, and again, the best song in the entire, of all the dungeons in Ocarina of Time. Easily, not even close. So, easy number 1. Like, honestly, on certain days, Forest Temple might top Spirit Temple. Like, it depends on the type of day. But, in general, I do prefer Spirit over Forest Temple, but they can be interchanged based on, you know, days and whatnot. But Spirit Temple is an all-time classic, one of my favorites in the entire series, and easy number 1 on this list. Alright, and last we have Ganon's Castle. Now, this one I was debating including because it's not really classified as a dungeon, I think. It is kind of a mini dungeon because you do get, like, keys here and a boss key, and you do fight enemies along the way up. But, it's pretty much just a staircase and a gauntlet that you go through. Like, you climb all the rooms and you beat enemies, and you can go to other rooms and beat more enemies. So, for that reason, it is my number 10 pick on this list. Again, nothing bad, it's just when all you're doing is just climbing and beating enemies, there's no, like, actual puzzles, it does kind of take away from it being better than other entries on this list, so I gotta put it there. But it's got a great song to it, the da 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 da. So good. And the boss fight, of course, one of the best Ganon boss fights of all time. I love this boss fight. I love the first phase, I love the second phase where we're fighting Beast Ganon, that's always been a great one. But the dungeon, not really that great, it's not memorable, but it is a lot better than Water Temple, which I know might sound crazy, because Water Temple is a full-blown dungeon, and this one's a mini dungeon, but Water Temple is fucking frustrating as hell. This one is short and unmemorable, but at least it's not frustrating. So, I'm sorry, I can't put a frustrating, sluggish temple over a not as long, but, not frustrating mini dungeon, so... There you go, again, just my opinion, that's what I think. So if you disagree, that's totally fine, but I cannot put Water Temple above anything else, because I legitimately did not like going through it. At least in the original version, so there you go. Alright, and we're done. That is every temple and dungeon from Ocarina of Time. So, thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought and what you would change. What is your favorite temple from Ocarina of Time or dungeon? And, there you go. That is my list. So, number 11 to number 1. Worst to best. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody!